Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to the A24 project here in the Nerd Party Network. My name is Lee Hutchison, and Dallas King and I make our way through the A24 filmography and along the way bring you interviews with the talent involved in front of and behind the camera. Our series of interviews with the cast of The Curse continues as we welcome DJ Arvizo. DJ portrays Jose, an audio technician helping shoot Fliplanthropy, following Whitney, played by Emma Stone, and Asher, Nathan Fielder, who use their property development empire to help locals while gentrifying the area in the process. Join us as DJ shares his experience of working on the set, and a fake one too, on The Curse. Thanks so much to DJ for joining us, and hope you too enjoy this episode. What ignited your passion for the industry, DJ?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think ever since I was a kid, I've always, had this big just excitement with going to the movies, especially my earliest memory is my grandpa taking me to the movies as a young kid, and like not only creating that bond with him, but also like creating this new form of it planted this seed of like expression in me that was like, whoa, like that's cool. Like it was like this kind of this tunnel into a bigger imaginary world, you know what I mean? And so for me, that not only brought a lot of healing, but also a lot of curiosity. And so I think from there, I just wanted to really dive more into the form. Like I was doing it subconsciously, listening to more music that I was accustomed to. I grew up in a very, I want to say, protected household, very religious household. My parents, they grew up going to church, they played everything by the book, do as you're told and everything. But me, this curiosity, the seed of curiosity kind of pushed me past those boundaries. And so, listening to music that, wasn't always allowed in the church, maybe, watching movies and stuff like that, it just kind of led me to where I am today, So I think just that form of expression and like just the art of storytelling itself, how someone who doesn't look like me, how a cartoon even, how we could resonate with that and it could move us in a certain way. I think that's the beauty of everything, it's just the heartbeat of what we do,
I'm curious, what were those films that really stood out for you when you were...
Yeah, I mean, as a child, man, the first ones I think were Happy Feet. First and foremost, my grandpa took me to see, I don't know what movie it was. He took me to some movie that was beyond my comprehension at the time. And so, he felt it. He said like he was really bored during the movie. And so like he asked me during it, he's like, hey, do you want to go see another movie? And I'm like, yeah, let's get out of here. So we left out the original movie, walked inside and to see Happy Feet, and like we kind of just watched the remainder of it there. So that was my earliest memory of the whole movie and the whole entertainment, experience and stuff like that.
So obviously you have a real passion for it. So how have you kind of turned that into a career?
Man, I think so lately it's been really cool. Things have been really unraveling and kind of, for the first time in my life, seeing how passions could kind of turn into a profit, for financially and relationally and everything. And lately I've been really trying to figure out what part of the industry I want to get into, it being like so big that you could attack this thing from so many things, and like having the experience, being in front of the camera, before that I've had a lot of experience behind the camera and a lot of like the production side. So I think right now I'm really just big on, okay, what is the smartest way for me to, get to do, really do this at the highest level. And so being out here, so I'm currently in Los Angeles. Moving out here like about a year ago has really allowed me to kind of sit back and observe everything, how I have friends doing this, friends doing, other stuff. And it's kind of been like a moment for me to really sit and, I guess, evaluate within myself of what I want to do, not only as a storyteller, but as an artist, and as someone who loves it so much, they want to present it for the first time in such a beautiful way, So I just being very intentional with that and kind of learning what I really want to do with that.
Have you got one that you're maybe gravitating a little bit more towards at this moment in time?
Yeah, I think right now I really want to focus on gathering the stories, So I have Latino, I'm a Latino American, which means, my parents are from Mexico, but I was born here in the United States. And so with that, I carry two backgrounds of culture with me, right? I have the Latino side, the fun, the Spanish, like, the loud, the family oriented, everything. And I also have the American side where we're here, we have the American hip hop, we hear about the business, the American dream, just all that stuff that is catered to us as kids. And so I think with that, there's a specific audience that I know I'm not the only one, right? But a lot of those stories that we grow up with in our own household, aren't always represented on the screen at the highest level. And so I think with that is like a whole audience that is not only misrepresented, but also, there's just itching for something to see themselves in, like it's just super cool to have your cities, to have your people and stuff like that. So I think right now I'm really focused on gathering those stories and like, how can we portray those stories that, are not only a story, but are also reflection, for the, just for the sake of the art and stuff. So right now I think I'm leaning towards the script writing just because I know scripts are very gold, and like they're like the first step to everything. But alongside, we've got to pay our bills. So I've been doing a little bit of, DP work, editing, and like, just whatever it takes at this point. But I think, as a personal passion stuff, I really want to lean more towards the script writing and producing side, and just let's get this stuff going.
You're at the beginning of your career, but is there any kind of work out there already that kind of people can maybe check out if they've just been introduced to you with the curse?
Yeah, so I mean, my first time in front of the screen was definitely The Curse. And that was just such a great experience, man. I loved every part of it. It just brought a whole new scope to this, thing that we do every day. But before that, I actually was a director of photography in a short film directed by one of my friends, Cameron McQueen. It's called The In-House, and it's available on YouTube. And I could send you a link if you want to attach this to the video or everything. But yeah, it's called The In-House, man. We shot that. It was like a 40-minute film. Filmed it over the course of a weekend. So it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, some pickup shots the following weekend. It was fun, man. Small crew, all indie, no budget whatsoever, just a ton of people that are down to film this thing in Tulsa, Oklahoma, man.
So you mentioned obviously the curse. Like, when did you first become aware of the opportunity for it, and did it catch your attention?
Absolutely. So I had just being tapped in with people who work in the industry back home in New Mexico and everything. I kind of had rumors that Emma Stone was going to be filming a new project, and it was A24, and it was directed by the Safdie brothers. That's all we knew, right? So we're like, what the heck is this? What's going on? And so after that, we knew there a lot of casting calls became available, to the local casting scene out there. And so one of my cousins, her name is Linda, one of my dad's cousins, she saw that and she sent it my way, on Facebook. She literally sent me the link on Facebook and was like, hey, check this out. You meet the qualifications. I think the casting call mentioned that they were looking for someone with prior camera experience. That's all they said. Like, we're looking for someone that knows how to do the camera work, but in front of the camera, And so she just sent it my way. I looked into it, I knew a lot of friends that had used that casting agency before, submitted it, and yeah, man, the rest is history, brother.
So what happened with the audition process to go from, hey, I've submitted an interest? When did you sort of like get like a call up, and what were they kind of looking for in that audition process? Because you have quite the recurring role through the series as well. It's an interesting role because it's kind of, I suppose, I mean, that kind of probably skips ahead to a question, but I'll just ask you, what was the audition process like first?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, so they wanted us to, send in a video talking about our experience and talking about just, what we've done with the production side of things, right? Because obviously they were looking for someone with production experience. And so they had us, for me, it was like, talk about your experience, but also they want to see footage of you holding a camera. So I got my little DSLR. Literally, so they said, hold your camera, and this is the only camera I had. So like, they're like, hold your camera, and we want to see how you look holding the camera from all angles. So I was just there holding it, turning it around. It was like a 360 model, and it was cool. And just I put it together, stitched it together with that, and sent it to the way, man. It was out of my hands from there.
And was it always kind of the role of Jose that you were up for, or was it just sort of like, was it kind of like a very open kind of casting, perhaps?
Yeah, it was very open. They never mentioned Jose. They just mentioned it was a featured reoccurring. And so, it was like, okay, cool. It's a featured background. So that means I'll get some screen time. I wasn't really prepared to do any lines or anything. And, or so even have a character name. And so I just sent that in. And then when we got it, we kind of just, they kept it very on the hush. We didn't have no role for the first month. I was still officially background. And then after that month of doing background work, it's when they promoted a select of us. So there was like 1, 2, 3 who became, or 4 of us that became core of the team. And then they actually gave me the name and bumped me up to that cast role for that one episode.
So obviously you mentioned like you kind of knew the Safdie element was involved, there'd be Emma Stone. Like, what did you kind of know about this sort of show going in? Because we've heard from like some people that like they only really had their sides and they kind of would have an idea of some of it, but a lot of it that was alien to them. Whereas you're kind of right there straight away from the beginning. So did you maybe have a bit of a more overall idea about what this show was going to be, or were you kept in the dark as well?
Yeah. I mean, we knew it was definitely be like a turn of events because we kind of got glimpse of the scenes we were recording and, there's rumors between the crew and everything, but we really didn't have no idea until I actually got my hands on the script. And then we kind of started to piece things a little bit more together. But even then, like seeing the final product was really beyond anything I could have ever like imagined because, it was, how it is. It's just different, bro. And so I think seeing, being there with those questions kind of added to the adventure of recording every day, because we don't know the whole scope, but we just know in that moment. And so seeing the final product, really just piece everything together. A lot of questions we left set with, like, what the heck was that about? Seeing everything put together was like, oh, okay. It all makes sense. Even then, what the heck was that ending? Like, where the hell did he go? Is he going to wake up and everything was a dream? We don't know, but yeah.
We mentioned obviously you were there from episode one. Like, how much of the kind of show's like tone and style was like, kind of built in from those opening days, or do you kind of feel it evolved over the time that you were there on the show?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the how I say it like that discreet, like that irky. I don't know how to describe it. It's just a whole new feeling, like that irky awkwardness, but comedic. Like it was definitely there from the first, time stepping on the set. But we didn't really understand it. But I think as the more that we, filmed, the more that we got involved, the more that feeling became natural to us. And so we all kind of embodied that spirit of what the final product is, of what the show really is by the last take and stuff. So it was definitely interesting. It was definitely introduced to us. But yeah, I think we kind of grew comfortable in it. And once we kind of understood the assignment, we kind of did what it did, man.
Was it odd, like film shooting a TV show within a TV show? Like there you are, like holding like the boom mic, everything, and there's like someone probably holding a boom mic over like kind of near you
Absolutely.
and stuff.
Absolutely, man. It was really like this side of like looking yourself in the mirror, but obviously, they're the masters at this craft. So I was really looking, not only myself, but I know a lot of the other film crew members were like, asking the professionals, hey, am I doing this right? How do I look? I like just trying to take notes and get pointers from the people who do this every day. So it's definitely, really, I think we all approach it from a really respectable way of like, hey, I want to make sure this is authentic. So I'm looking at the people that do this for real. So like at least I know a couple of people told us like that we actually look like legit crew members, and like even Crafty and like other people were getting confused with who's actual crew and who's the cast and stuff. So it was really neat to see that kind of unfold before us. But like, I was there working with a lot of the sound people too, that, asking them for pointers and everything. So they definitely taught me and guided me along the way.
You obviously mentioned like there was a kind of core group of you. Like there's like Benny Safdie is this like director. You've got Samantha Ashley, the assistant director. Then you've got like Oscar Avila kind of filming. Like what was it like with this like kind of core team? Did you sort of feel like over the episodes that you bonded together to kind of create it? Because like it's weird. You'll just watch you guys just like doing busy work in the background, and like it must feel weird to just be like, we're just gonna kind of keep faking it all. Like what was that little kind of core team like?
Yeah. No, I mean, by the end of it, bro, I felt like we could actually get together and film something, man. Like we all handled our roles so personally, and like we were also committed to our role that by the end of it, we knew our assignment. We knew like, okay, we're here to make sure that we look like we're producing this whole thing. So we definitely, as the show progressed, we got a lot closer, and we even went out for some bites and drinks after and stuff, and we all keep in touch still here and there, online and stuff. So it was definitely cool to see other people like in our same world of roles and stuff, and see even beyond that, how we're both actually in like we're on the same level for our careers, like we're all trying to pursue this thing, we're all taking on different roles and stuff. And so keeping that energy from the screen off the is kind of, it's helping us grow every day for sure.
What was that like the downtime like? Because I can imagine you're there for a good few weeks and so on. Like what was it like kind of like shooting's finished for the day, like off you go out and enjoy the sort of time. Like what did you kind of get up to?
Man, I mean, so for the first month, I had to drive back home. So we were filming in Española, New Mexico, right? And which is it's like a little less, it's like about 3 hours, a little less than 3 hours away from home. So I was in Albuquerque. So that first month before the casting role, when I was still background, would go home, long days on set. I just want to go back home, go to set and stuff. So that for the first half, it wasn't really, I would say, as luxurious. We're just there to work, do our thing. I'm here to part of the team and then go back home. But then as we kind of evolved into the production, everything. I remember it wasn't until like the last day of filming is when all the cast, all the subcast members got together, like, hey, let's celebrate. It's the last day, we went to Santa Fe, got some drinks and like, got some food and just kind of came together as one last supper. But downtime on set was fun. We kind of all just kicked it, by crafty, just talking to each other, sharing personal stories and, just the art of connecting with the community that you're placed in. I think is makes all this very special.
And how did the kind of community greet you? Because I can imagine it's maybe slightly disruptive to their local community. Like there's like people like film crews, trucks, like life passing through, or was it like, oh, this is really exciting, or then does it get exciting and wear off? What was the kind of community reaction?
I mean, I think it was very, I want to say, embracive. They understood their assignment. Like I said, they understood that we were there playing as them, and so they knew that if we were asking certain questions, they were very patient with us. And it was very professional, but at the same time, we allowed it to become personal in the sense of authenticity. And I think there's a lot of good people on set that just made the days easier. They love what they do, and like anything else, when you love something, it's 1,000 times easier. And so I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be around just people that love what they do. The directors, the Safdie brothers, Nathan, Emma Stone, and everybody. Like it was just beautiful. Everybody had a heart in it, and being around that definitely bled into everybody's interaction and stuff. Yeah, of course there's long days like any other big production family. People fight and everything, but at the end of the day, it got done, and that's the beauty of everything.
You got to be there when like the titular curse was cast in that kind of parking lot. Can you speak to what it was like to kind of shoot that day in this Espanola kind of
Yeah.
car park?
Yeah. I mean, it was such like, because I grew up in New Mexico, right? So growing up in New Mexico, I would always, every summer growing up, we would go to we'd go camping in Chama. And Chama in New Mexico is like a little outside of Española. So we would always pass through the same exact like roads that we were filming on. And so me just being on set, like seeing this from a different perspective, from the production side, was just a trip for me. Like I was really just surprised that like there was a big production in this small town that I really didn't like it was, I knew people like who lived there, and like we would always knew existed, but we just never had that kind of motion in the city like that. So it was really special for me, man. Just being from New Mexico and kind of seeing that other people were appreciating the land for what it like in the stage of the world. Like it was super cool to see, because we never really had that exposure. And being on set, it was very hot the day we filmed that, man. The New Mexico sun in the desert is no joke for sure. But it was really fun, like it kind of being surrounded by so many talented, passionate people. Like you said, it doesn't, I don't want to say it's competitive, but it pushes you to kind of perform at your very best as well. It's like, I'm here in front of all these people that love what they do. They have a track record for doing what they do at the highest level. I want to make sure they know that I belong here. So how could I, play my role, do what I got to do, play my part? We're all Avengers. We all play a different piece in the puzzle and stuff like that. So it kind of pushes you to actually to reach the highest standard within yourself, but also sit back and learn, because this is the greatest school that I'll ever attend. Like I'm here firsthand experience, learning from the greats in their craft. So I'm here to shut up and pay attention. But yeah, it was very great, man.
One of the scenes where you didn't shut up, and is one of my kind of favorite scenes, is like when Whitney like comes up to you and she's like accusing you of eavesdropping. And I was talking about it with my partner earlier. We watched like The Curse together, and like I just remember you just having this brilliant, like slightly cheeky smile, maybe a bit of a shit-eating grin in at the same time, and it's just like, sorry, what were we saying? And it's just like
Yeah.
it's I can't put my finger on how to describe it, but it's definitely like a cheeky kind of chappy thing. Like, can you talk about sort of like that scene and so on, and what it's like to shoot?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think a lot of that was again, just feeding off the improv, because a lot of it was improv. They kind of just set it up for me, and seeing Emma Stone just do her thing. It really inspired me to, okay, she's locked in, I gotta lock in, and ignore everything else. This is my role. This is what I'm doing. This is what I've been assigned. So let's just go into it. So it was very first nerve-wracking. This is Emma Stone, she's Gwen and Spider-Man. It's all these greats that I looked up, La La Land, like all these movies that I grew up that made me love this thing. Seeing her in front of me, not only seeing her but like having conversation with her was a huge deal for me. So the first couple of takes, ask the crew, they'll tell you we're a little bit shaky, just the nerves coming out and everything. But by the fourth and fifth of it, like the later takes, I kind of got the hang of it. Everything just kind of aligned, and we were rolling, man. So yeah, it was, like I said, I really just played off the part of they wanted me to, I'm eavesdropping, but you can't let her know because your director is telling you something. But so it's kind of like that separation of like, what do I do? I'm kind of caught, but at the same time, I can't let my guard down on what I've been assigned. And so, like, it was such a fun and natural moment of like, just rolling with her, and how she approached me and trying to match that with the character that I created of Jose.
It was a great moment. So that kind of answers the question. He was
Yeah.
listening in, would probably be the answer.
Was he? I don't know. I don't know if I could say, man.
And I love it. Like, I want to know, was that like one of the improv lines? Like, I like that bit where it's like, "Oh no, I'm greasing the knobs." And I rewatched it and like ahead of interview, and I was like, "That man does love greasing the knobs and so on." Like, did that come from like the improv aspect of just like watching like? By that point, you've done a good few episodes and you're seeing how these people work, and you're like, that's kind of a funny line, greasing the knobs. Like, yeah, greasing the knobs and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Like,
yes, enough. Yeah,
where
no.
did that kind of come
So
from?
that was actually the term that the professionals told me. So we were talking about the scene. We are talking about like, hey, she's gonna come up to you. You're listening, but you can't tell she's listening. And like, just work that out. And I, again, like, I'm here to learn. I'm a student of the game. And so the sound people there told me like, oh, just tell her you're greasing the knobs. And like when they told me that, I knew that was like the term they actually used. So at the same time, how can I use it in like, in the response to her attacking me?
And is that
So
something like the sound folk would be like, yeah, it kind of happens. Like you do overhear these things. Like it's just part of the workplace, malicious or not.
exactly. It was definitely like a reflection of what actually goes on, but at the same time, it was used in such a practical and really perfect way for that situation.
Definitely. Like,
Yeah.
what were your kind of thoughts on the dynamics between sort of your character and kind of Whitney and Asher through the show? Because like they seem to have an eye on you to an extent.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think they're onto me as far as, being Benny's little henchman. We both have the magic curls and wear as a hat. But I definitely think they're onto me, and Jose is definitely he's there to, produce and capture the sound, but at the same time, like, Benny is his boss, right? And so like he's definitely there. Like he wants to cater to him. He wants to make sure he doesn't lose his job. This is a big project, some big funding, all that good stuff. But at the same time, it's like he's cheeky. He said he's cheeky, man. Like he's gonna get what gets done. He has an assignment, and I definitely think their suspicion is growing on to me, and I don't know if I have their full trust as I did.
And everyone loves workplace gossip and
Yeah,
eavesdropping when they
absolutely.
can. Like it's just everyone can relate to that. You're the most relatable character in that whole show.
Yeah, man, that's
I,
hilarious.
I love it in sort of episode 7 in a very kind of different tone when you sort of see these kind of recorded confessionals from like Whitney, then Ashes. They're both being kind of manipulated and being manipulated about their relationship to kind of create this drama. Like they're really powerful scenes from both Stone and Fielder. Like what was it like to watch those kind of quite raw scenes being shot as like you're Jose and at the same time you're kind of taking it all in, seeing some of these amazing professionals in action.
I was Jose when I needed to cross in front of the camera. And as soon as I got out the frame, I think I just completely took off that hat and was really just witnessing, greatness in the room. There's been a lot of times where we were on set and, Emma was prepping for her big monologue scene and like, like her just telling us, like her assistant telling us, to quiet down or just setting the room for her preparation just really allowed me to respect everything she does and what everybody does just a whole new level, like that really showed us their professionalism, their passion behind all of this. And so Yeah, man, I couldn't help myself but learn and sit back and observe. And if I wasn't on screen, if they didn't need me, as I say, I don't want to be him any much longer. I'm here to like and soak it all in and embrace it for sure.
What would you say the one thing that you learned from both like Emma Stone and Nathan Fielder and kind of that what would you do that one thing from each of them that whether they shared it with you or you observed that you would take away for
Yeah.
being
I mean, first and foremost, they showed me the passion behind all of this. They really showed me that you could have fun, amongst your peers on a professional level. Like there is really no identity if you don't there's no identity of the project if you can't embody it personally. And I think throughout the whole filming, the whole production, we were able to see snippets of their personal identity, their personality, right? And how it kind of bled and infected the whole production as a whole. So it was really cool to see them off screen, just hearing their laughing, their conversations, just kind of witnessing how human they are. Like we're also alike, and like we've only seen them on the big screen. That I feel like every other celebrity, causes that separation between human and celebrity. But like when it comes down to it, we're all kind of alike, So it was really cool to just see them on a personal level. And like I said, really seeing how their identity, their personality kind of shaped the production, what it was, man.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And obviously your partner in crime on the shooting was Benny Safdie. Like I loved him in this. Like I think he
Mhm.
can it's it I'm old
Yeah.
enough to remember of like I remember when he was just like a director doing like
Absolutely.
Uncut Gems, Good Time, and
Oh,
then just
Uncut
how
James, one of my
explode.
favorite
And
movies. Yeah.
I was speaking about it with one of your co-stars a few weeks ago, Samantha Ashley. I was like, I love that video. I don't know if you saw it a few weeks ago where like Benny Safdie is on some random red carpet for some event, and he just seems to be like still dressed as Dougie. He's got the hair, and he just looked like he was deep in like he'd fully embraced and committed to the bit. Like that was such a hysterical video.
Absolutely, man. Benny's great, man. He's such a at the depth to Benny, I don't think the world has seen yet. I really do believe that there's so much more to Benny Safdie and like both the Safdie brothers that we know of, and Uncut Gems, the one with Robert Pattinson, I forget the name, but they did that one together. Yeah, yeah, Good Times. Yes, that one. Like this, a lot of snippets of what, and even the curse, we're still kind of unfolding what they have to offer. But like I said, on set, man, seeing his range, seeing his diversity, how he can lock in from professional, he's actually directing to like a goofball, corny director that's just there to wreak havoc on the show. Like just seeing that in person again was just very inspiring, and I'm really excited to see what else they produce and continue to put on for us.
Talking of inspiring, is he someone that you kind of see, like a kind of role model for the future? You see, as you mentioned, someone at the beginning that's like interested in writing, acting, directing, producing, all that stuff. Like he seems like he's always done these different things. And as you say, there's so many elements to him that we still to see. Do you kind of see him as being that kind of example of how it can be done? Because he got really started in those low budget
Absolutely.
films like Heaven
Mm-hmm.
Knows and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah.
100%. Yeah. No, he's definitely someone that I really, again, not compare, but I like to kind of see, tell myself that it is possible to do, like him, Adam Sandler, like, all these other director and actors, like there's a lot of great people who have done it. Right. And so seeing and working with Benny so close, it kind of, put things in a realistically for me. It's like, okay, look what he's doing. It takes a whole new level. Of course, he's older, he has experience, but it's not impossible, man. And seeing the works that he has produced from Uncut Gems to Oppenheimer, like like two different hats, but this man wears them all, and he wears them personally. And I really, like I said, it's really inspiring to see someone be so passionate that they, it kind of becomes a persona for the duration of the
Yeah,
production. Yeah,
I bet. Like, what was the kind of like, Nathan Fielder was like the kind of main director of it all. Like, what was his kind of directing style like and so on? And how did he sort of manage the set? And like an actor like yourself, like you're someone that's quite young. Like, are you someone that's sitting there thinking, I want my director to give me lots of advice, put me in the right direction, or just like go, hey, he's cast me. Like, I know I'm trusted, and that trust is more than enough. Like, what was it kind of like in,
yeah, no, absolutely. I think so. Nathan Fielder, his directing style is very he goes with he goes with his gut. I feel like he's very instinctive. He trusts himself more than everything, but he also trusts the people around him to help him make decisions. And he will, when he believes in something, he will definitely fight for it. And that, again, that's just inspiring within itself. But at the same time, there's that collaborative spirit that we're all there to work together. So seeing him do that was really cool. And like, again, she showed me that these are all professionals. I'm here for a reason. This is my moment, where they're either gonna tell me to pack my bags and this is not for me, or step up to the plate and see what I got. And so being around them when they set up the scene, he broke it down with me when we were filming that scene outside with Whitney, and he told me, like, this is what's gonna happen. She's gonna come here, do this, and like he was very blunt. Remind you, this is my first time really acting in front of the camera, really do anything at this caliber. So I kind of had to just wear that. I'm good at adapting to my situations, and I just kind of ran with it. So like, it was definitely an internal call to a higher standard. And again, being around these people that are there, I say, okay, do I have what it takes? Well, we're about to find out. And sink or swim situation. You have to really dig. And like I said, it was really just a moment for me to even prove to myself that I can do this, that I do belong here, and I could, contribute to this in my own way. So it was definitely, like I said, definitely pushed me, and it definitely just, it wanted me to be greater, being around people that are so genuinely great themselves. So yeah.
You'd mentioned obviously you knew Emma Stone and Benny before sort of like shooting this. Like, were you kind of familiar with kind of Nathan?
Nathan, I had definitely heard of his projects, especially after I got casted. I went back to do my research. I had never really dove into his stuff, but I have seen, stuff online for Nathan For You or The Rehearsal, really. And that's the one I kind of saw. And like, once I saw The Rehearsal, I understood his comedic, stance a little bit more. And so being that deaf, I'm glad I went back and did my homework before going on set, because that kind of helped me and helped frame what I was getting myself into. A lot of the scenes that kind of made sense once I saw his personality and stuff. Yeah.
And what is that kind of is there much difference between like kind of you see him on even like advertising The Curse and Nathan For You, The Rehearsal, like how different is that to bog standard Nathan that's at the craft table next to, or how different are they?
I think they're different in the sense of execution, right? Once he's out in his public, when he's out promoting, I think he understands the assignment of promotion and marketing, right? And he embodies that personality, and he's a professional at that. When he's on set, when he's figuring out something, he has a hat of director, he has the hat of a problem solver. And so I think the types of hats he wears are different, but they all live under the same umbrella of like just passion, dedication, really, to all of this. He's just a hard worker in what he does, and like I said, he's able to navigate the different waters in such a perfect and professional way. So it's definitely inspiring. Like, and I became a fan. I became more of a fan of Nathan, like, after working with him, and just seeing how he really does everything on a general scope. Yeah.
Did you have a favorite Nathan For You sketch when you were doing your research?
Nathan For You, not really. I kind of delved more into The Rehearsal. So I saw a little bit of Nathan For You, but The Rehearsal was really the one that, okay, this is hilarious. Yeah.
What was your kind of initial reaction to seeing the kind of Curse for the first time and going on that 10 episode experience, getting the full story?
Man, The Curse, man. I don't even know where to start. It was definitely mind bending, genre bending. Like, it was definitely, when I thought it was going to be about something, it just took a whole left turn, and they included different elements, and it was really cool to see, again, like, just seeing what the days that we were there like consisted of in the bigger picture. Also seeing, like, my city, my state being represented in such a different way. It was like, okay, I can see, like, because it is true. There's a lot of people who go out there to try to gentrify communities, and sometimes we don't know, like, the harm it does on the community around them. So the fact that that was a real issue being spoken about, and, like, with A24 and everybody involved, it was really just inspiring to be a part of. And now it's like, okay, how can we make sure the stories of those communities are told, in the same frame? So it's definitely inspiring.
As you say, it's a state that's really close to your heart, and you've touched on some of those themes like of representation and so on, and there's that gentrification, white saviors, and so on. Like, what was it like to kind of see them play out? Because it's one of those ones. There's been a debate about the show of like, there's these themes within the show, but are they just there on a superficial level? And it's that kind of, is it a meta actual thing of like, that's what it's often like in these shows that people are making of like, oh, we really want to talk about how important, you know, these things are, but actually, the amount of times that they in the fake show, there's someone like, oh, we're going to make that person work at a coffee shop. Oh, we've got this person here, but actually, we've got fake representation buying the house. Actually, it's just some white guys that's buying the house. Like there's an interesting debate of like, actually, is it doing real representation or is it actually doing fake representation? But that's actually the real representation what goes through, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, like anything else, man, there's many perspectives and just different lanes from of different points of view, right? Depending on where you come from or where you live, someone that lives there is different from someone that doesn't live there, and that's what that just goes on in a general sense of life. We're all different universes experiencing one shared world. And so with that, I think the show does a great job at showing the both sides, right? I really, like I said, I really do respect the fact that they were able to point the truths, the good and the ugly with the, like I said, the white savior, but also with the people that are how I say it, that live there, the people that are part of the community there. And so I think from what they understood, right, being a lot of people from out of state, like and they were still so knowledgeable, and they treated this with a very, very respectable, they wanted to honor the city and the people, but again, they spoke from their perspective. I still think there is another perspective that not even I could speak for, because I don't live in that city, but there's a different perspective that sometimes in anything are unheard of because, they don't have the production money. They don't have, the ability to share their story. And that goes for anything, like there's movies about, like old Mexican movies, how Mexicans are portrayed a certain way, right? We have like African Americans when they're portrayed a certain way, like, like who is in charge of building that perspective. And again, with that, there's a lot of power and influence that you have to be careful with that, because you're literally shaping perspectives. And I feel like, again, Hollywood has just painted a single perspective throughout the duration of its existence. But I think as we're growing and seeing past these borderline problems and seeing, like you said, like seeing a bigger picture of this, I think there's people like A24 and directors like, the people that from The Curse and other projects that are taking that into consideration when accommodating to these projects. So I definitely think there's growth. Like anything else, I think we could do better. But like I said, perspective and it's so many perspectives, man. So
You
yeah.
mentioned you've obviously got kind of like family relations out there, sort of in New Mexico. What were their kind of reactions to kind of this show? Because I suppose I'm so many of the reactions I've heard have been from people that probably look like me and others and so on. But I'm always
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of like, because I remembered watching the show for the first time, going, "Oh, like it's made up like
yeah.
town, like it's a real place." But there's
Uh-huh.
no way that this kind of like is a real thing. And I remember hearing for a second, "Oh, that's actually is a real place." That kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, again, it was very cool to see our state and, our just our backyard really represent, like, seen at the big stage. But at the same time, it was kind of confusing for a lot of people that didn't understand it. Like a lot of people don't really live in that world. Like it's just a whole different, the type of humor, the type of, like, just the script writing, everything just didn't, maybe might not have resonated with the personal interest. And that's not to say anything about like the production or anything. It's just what people like. And so I think it was definitely like I have a lot of friends who didn't really like were into the show because it's not their style.
I
Like
had the
it's just
same. I had friends that were like,
yeah,
"Oh, it was too much for me to watch." Like I got a couple episodes in, and it was just I struggled with the awkwardness. Whereas
a
for me,
hundred
it's like
percent.
I love that sort of thing, but I said it to someone else. I needed to watch that show once a week. Like I remember, as you were saying, there's bits you just don't know what's maybe going on. Like there's a bit of like it's that guy that has like the gun. I'm like, when the fuck's the gun gonna go off and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff, and just everything. There's always just everything comes with a stress, and there's never a moment where like I can just relax into this. Oh, I'm gonna put another one on and stuff. It was definitely. I think it's gonna be a show that I don't think as many people probably have seen it as I would have hoped for a show like this. But I can imagine it being one of those ones that there's going to be a second wave and then a third wave of people that continue to find this one, and it'll be one of those ones you'll see an article of like 10 shows people have slept on and so on.
100%, man. Hopefully, man, that's definitely the goal, and that's definitely, like I said, because we see the potential of this, and we love it ourselves. I definitely think that's something that we are looking forward to. But yeah, I think there's, like I said, some people just have that disconnection, and hopefully it grows to be able to connect, and people draw more interest with it as we progress, for sure.
I always think of back. I got me and the guy I co-host this. We were lucky enough to see like Uncut Gems at like a surprise like screening at London Film Festival a few years ago. I remembered like I knew what to expect going in. I'd seen their films previously, but I remember just being like so stressed watching it, especially towards the end of that film. Like I can't take this, I can't take this, but I'm loving that it's putting me in this position. I remember just every so often there would just be people just sit up and leave the screen for either just due to personal taste and so on. And it's films like this where you either love these sorts of things or you're just like, it's not for me. I want some. I'm going to put The Office on instead.
Exactly, the office, or yeah, exactly, brother. Yeah, it's definitely, you have to have a specific like interest in this kind of stuff
Yeah,
to
a
like it,
hard
because
skin as well, and just like you have to be, maybe on anti-anxiety medication, something like that.
exactly something. No, but it's a very fun show, man. And like I said, the awkward experiences, the fact that it's able to take it from outside the screen and kind of bring you into that awkwardness with it, I think is very special in itself. And it's just exploring new emotions with us. I think within ourselves, it's kind of putting us, like you said, in different situations that it's I like it. I love it, man.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like it's stuff like this where like I want more of that. Like, that puts me in that awkward position where I'm like, I can't believe you put me in that place. It's like not just obviously part of the show is passive living, but people do so much passive watching. Like something's on, they're playing on their
It's
phones.
mind numbing. Yeah, it's mind numbing. They're not even appreciating it. And
Yeah,
with this
you
kind of
couldn't
stuff,
do that with that show because you were like, oh my God, where's this going? Where's this going? And even up until that last minute, you never knew where it was going, and it's so rare to get that experience.
yeah, 100%, man. No, it was definitely a roller coaster for sure, and it's not the roller coaster that goes in the same loop. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's a
yeah.
lot of fun, man.
You mentioned obviously A24 were behind this sort of show. Like, what are some of your kind of favorite A24 films or TV?
Yeah, I'm an A24. I definitely gained interest in them since Spring Breakers. I never really saw it, but the fact that they got a lot of old Disney stars and put them in this
I can
crazy
definitely
like
tell your
group.
age category with like Happy Feet, the Disney
Yeah,
stars, and so on. Like this, like I have a feeling like if
yeah.
if I found your like letterbox or something, like High School Musical would be in that like top four.
Maybe. Nah, I don't think it would. I don't personally. I definitely grew up watching it, but I don't think it would now. After seeing and taking note of what this art is at the highest level, for sure. But no, A24. I think I've always, again, just that the whole new style and visual that they brought to the industry, man. It just, and the storytelling itself, they spoke on stories that wasn't, it just felt like a fresh breath of air. They were speaking on things and doing things that haven't been done in such a beautiful way, and like the fact that they were doing that, it really caught my attention. And so one of my favorite A24 films is Jonah Hill's mid-90s. And so that was like, that really was the one that sparked that seed of like, oh, I gotta get to LA, like just that culture of LA culture really helped me dive into it a lot more. Moonlight, was another great one that was just both visually stunning films that I loved. And like I said, it just kind of sparked a whole new seed of what this could be for me personally, but also as a fan and like someone who enjoys this, so they've definitely helped elevate me to where I am now. And like I said, I just love that they talk on stories that it's just not your general industry production. It's different, man. And I think that's what makes it authentic. If you ask me, the A in A24 stands for authentic. And it's really like, I know, it's cool. It's inspiring, man. It's really inspiring.
So what's kind of next on the horizon for yourself, DJ?
Yeah. So right now, like I said, I've just been big on just really observing and studying everything from every angle, and it just kind of settling down and seeing how I want to approach, making a career out of this for long term. And so with that, I'm starting to notice that scripts are gold, right? And so because of that, I want to be able to, how do I say this, not only provide opportunities for myself, but also provide opportunities for friends that I know are in this industry that look like me, provide opportunities for people back home that share the similar story. But with all that, we need a script to start, And so with that, I think, I really want to dive into the script writing space just to be able to work with people and create, and not only create, but reflect and retell some of our stories that are dear to our culture and our ancestors and just everybody aligned to in our family and stuff. So with that, I think I want to start getting more into my writing bag, learning how to do a little bit more of that, and just starting producing some of our own stories. Acting as well. Acting stuff pays the bills. And like there's other stuff that we need to survive, especially out here in LA. Man, things get kind of expensive. But so there's definitely stuff that I'll be kind of juggling at the same time. But at the core of everything, at the core of my love for the film, my love for the stories, I really want to dive more into the script writing and making things happen, man. Yeah.
Hopefully it won't be long before we've got you back to talk about
Yeah,
your
man.
first
Hopefully.
feature.
Absolutely.
And kind of where can people stay up to date on kind of like social media, on what's coming kind of next for you, or are these future plans?
Absolutely. So they could. So I'm mainly right now on Instagram. I have like some TikTok and stuff that I've always just really used like my personal brand. Just I've really just used it for fun. I'm traveling. Just like kind of that. How I say it, like that personal blog vibe, I guess you could say. Yeah. So, but for now, like they could connect me there. It's just at DJ Arvizo, my first and last name. And I'll be posting, projects whenever they're done, projects, stuff like that. It's gonna be my main form of communication. I'm working on like a production company myself called Dorado. And we want to do a website where we have, post everything there, kind of funnel more viewers, and like, we'll be on YouTube and every other platform as well. But yeah, Dorado is gonna be the production company where we, have a lot of friends who do music. We want to start producing our own music, our own films, our own musical films, So man, there's a lot of stuff in the works right now that I'm really excited to dive more into, especially being part of, big projects like The Curse, to kind of put everything into perspective for us, for sure.
I'm excited for you. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, DJ, and then to learn about the man behind the shit-eating smile and the
Yes,
grease
sir.
under the knobs and so on. It's been an absolute
Hilarious.
pleasure. Thank you so
Yes,
much
sir.
for coming on.
Man, thank you so much, Lee. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for all that you're doing, man. I definitely think that your heart and your appreciation for this stuff, it makes a difference, and viewers around the world, and I love seeing other people that do what they love, and like, you do it so greatly, you do it
Oh, I
so
appreciate that. Thank you
authentically,
so
and like,
much.
yeah, man, just keep doing it, man. And like you said, we'll see each other soon, man.